You can only act in the world you can see, and the only way you learn to see is by learning to say. You can only act in the world you can see, and you can only see by learning to say. So there's nothing, I mean, for example, you can call suicide self-life-taking. And why shouldn't you? Because if we are possessors of rights, then we have a right to our life, whether to take it or not to take it. A number of years ago, I was giving a rounds at the University of Chicago Medical School, and the week before they had someone to talk about abortion, and the physicians had all decided that they should perform abortions because it was their task to do what a patient needed. I asked them, well, what would happen? You're there at Cook County, right on the edge of the lake, and someone is pulled out of the lake in the winter, and they're brought to the ER, and they have a big plastic sheet on their chest, and it says, if I'm pulled out of the lake before I'm completely dead, please do not resuscitate. I've always loved Lake Michigan, and I've always thought it would be a good thing to die in the lake that I loved. And therefore, I am ending my life in a way that is commensurate with how I've loved life. And therefore, do not resuscitate. And if you think that I am in any way irrational or psychologically unbalanced, please look at my psychiatrist's statement that I'm completely sane. And I said, so that was self-life-taking. And I asked the residents what would they do, and they said, well, we'd resuscitate. Of course, if you're in the ER, you don't have time to read anything. So, but and I said, well, on what grounds could you possibly think you had the right to resuscitate this person? And they said, well, we're in the life-saving business. And I said, well, what right do you have to impose your role specification onto this person? They don't want to be resuscitated. And so there was a give and take for about 30 minutes. And so they finally came to the decision that if they were in the ER, if this person came in, they would resuscitate. But if they did it the second time, they would let them go. Now, and which of course was because if you're a resident and you're rotating through, you wouldn't be there a second time. So the very idea that you have a descriptor like suicide already makes a different world. That is the reason why, of course, that in the politics of America, you don't talk about abortion, you talk about pro-choice and pro-life, which is a nice way of making sure that your moral language has gone on a holiday for political purposes. Because exactly what you need to talk about is abortion and what kind of practices of a people sustain the language of abortion. What kind of people do you need to be to call the interruption of a pregnancy abortion? What kind of people do you need to be to call the taking of life suicide? So descriptions are more determinative than decisions. Decisions are what you do when everything else has been lost.